Hello, beloved. I am so glad you're here. Hello, beloved. I'm so glad you're here. I am filming today in my little home studio space. I'm actually in my yoga studio, if you want to know. And I just want you to know you are not alone. You are beloved. You are beloved to me, even if we haven't met yet. And I want you to know that in this work we are doing to meet this harrowing moment in human life, in history, in this sweet thing we share together, this life we share, this heartbreaking life we share. You are not alone, and you are loved. And I want you to know, if you are in the Albuquerque area, you can connect with us in person on Sundays at 4 p.m. Go to our website, ABQCSL.org, to get the details. And if you are one of my online beloveds, I want you to know that you can connect with us as well. And if you want to learn more about how to do that, leave a comment, because there are lots of ways to do that. You can learn some on our website as well. But just leave me a comment and I'd be happy to be in conversation with you. Conscious becoming. What does that mean? Well, I think it can mean a lot of things, but what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the next step in our conscious journey together, which is really moving from the beingness, right? Giving ourselves permission to simply be, and growing in our awareness of how it feels to be, to just be who you are, to just exhale and be in it. Be in your feelings, be in your skin, be in the moment. And then the kind of part two of that, the B to the A of that is becoming consciously. It's like being, and then understanding that there's a constant process of becoming. Octavia Butler, said God is change. And whatever you touch, you change, and whatever you touch changes you, right? Change. There is a constant motion. Some say, Hildegard of Bingen, Saint Hildegard, 10th century saint, said that love is this constant motion. The matrix of life is actually love, moving and giving itself and birthing itself again and again and again and again and again. This is becoming. And conscious becoming means getting into conscious relationship with that motion. And that motion that is moving you into more and more of who you are, if you so choose it, right? Because we could also just choose to be asleep, choose to go numb, choose to be distracted all the time, choose to dive into our screens and our phones and our whatever habits and addictions and binges and things. We could choose that too. That's also an option. But I'm hoping that you'll come along with me in the choice to consciously become more of who you are. Become more of the love that the divine has made you a vessel for, right? You and I are the vessels of expression for this greater love, for this greater reality, to express itself, to manifest itself as this reality, as this earth plane, as this life. You and I know together that we get to be the life of the one, the life of love. And becoming more of that is a conscious decision. And then there's a whole bunch of things that maybe go hand in hand with that choice in our practices, in our habits, in our disciplines that help us to do that. But becoming more of who we are, becoming more of the divine expression of love, also means becoming liberated. Liberation, my friends. is part of this work. It's the purpose of this work you and I do. It's not just to feel better, right? It's not a spirituality of comfort. This is a spiritual life for the purpose of liberation, individual and collective, right? Absolute freedom from discord of all nature. This was promised by the founder of Science of Mind, Otis Holmes. And so that liberation is in process right now. Right now. I'm about it. You're about it. So becoming liberated. You know, Lama Radoan said in Radical Dharma, I'm not liberated. Liberation is a process. Right? And that process is going to be a little different for all of us. What do we need to be liberated from? Right? What misbeliefs, misunderstandings, inherited programming, you know, genetic BS, like what do we need to be released from so that we more freely step into the truth of who we are? Becoming more of who we are. This is a spiritual work. Liberation is a spiritual work. Liberation can't happen outside of your divine nature, whatever you want to call it, your essential goodness, right? Your internal locus of control. This work of freedom, this work of collective liberation that is so desperately needed, that we are seeing the failure of on the far reaches of this planet in ways that are stunning and crushing. But it's a spiritual work. It's a spiritual revolution that you and I are called to. So your becoming must include that, right? Your becoming is a part of this process of liberation because you consciously decide to become more of your whole true self. And what I know for sure, without any doubt, is that your whole true self is divine, is here by divine appointment on purpose to participate in this grand rising, in this liberation for all. To participate in simply being the place where love arrives uniquely as you. To participate in claiming your place, your birthright of belonging to life, this one life, this holy wholeness, this greater reality. I also want to talk this month about that this liberation process, the spiritual living for the purpose of liberation, the spiritual living for the purpose of coming home to your wholeness, your holy nature, is a process, and it is a worthy process. It's a beautiful process. It is the process itself that gives the juice that we need to be in the process, right? It is like the energy created because you go sit in silence and listen to yourself. There is a spark of creation that rises in that moment that helps fuel the next moment. It is your commitment to your spiritual life, to your holy true nature, to your belonging to the collective holy whole. That commitment is part of the juice you need to move in this work, to take the next step, to meet yourself when all there is waiting for you is grief or heartache or worry or anxiety or confusion. But it's because you go to the mat. It's because you go to the quiet. It's because you go to prayer. It is because you have a Sabbath practice and slow your life down on a weekly basis. All of those choices, those practices, are part of the process of liberation. And those things that we do in this process are also the fuel and the motivation and the inspiration we need to keep going, to continue the evolution, to bridge the gap between a unconscious living, an unconscious life made up of unconscious humans, bridging the gap into a conscious collective that allows life to evolve into a place of harmony and peace and justice and care and enoughness. Your journey, messy as it may be, is the inspiration to somebody else's journey. Your juju, because you just got off your mat and then you hopped in the car and headed to work, and the juju you bring into the office is uplifting the people around you. This process of liberation is never a solo process. It is always in relationship to the whole. There is no other possibility. You can't live or breathe outside of the whole. It's part of what makes you holy, what makes us holy, is our membership, our belonging, our participation in the holy whole. And when you and I choose to do that consciously, on purpose, those small steps, those incremental shifts that you make in your life become the center of shift and motion for the greater life. This is how we achieve our liberation together. And as we do that, right, as we do that, as we begin to shift, as we deepen our commitments, as we get further along in our practices, in our disciplines and our habits, and we become more and more aware of more and more of who we are and are able to be the expression of that, that finds us more deeply rooted in the ground of God. We become the taproot plants in the garden that can feed everybody around us, that can send out the nutrients and the minerals that are needed in our community. We get so deeply rooted in the ground of God that we can let solutions rise up in our own consciousness. We can plug in to the omniscience of the divine that wants to express through you. This is the true power, the only power that is real, that does not require dominance over anybody, that does not require an us and them, a binary. It is the thing that you and I can plug into as spiritual beings, as members of this incredible collective reality that is holy. And let rise the creativity needed to meet this moment. Let rise the wisdom needed to meet this moment. Let rise the capacity to open our arms so wide that we can hold as many, 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 many beings as possible, as needed, right where we are. Our hearts can open so big that we can love everything that presents itself in front of us. That's what happens when you and I are deeply rooted and grounded in the ground of God. The name that I choose to call this holy, holy one life that has nothing to do with the white guy in the sky. This is the truth that I know is critical to human existence in this time. And one of the great ways that you will be able to cultivate deeper roots is through rest. Here's what I know. I can't meditate until I have given myself permission to pause and slow and meet the grief that is mostly often daily waiting for me there, to shed the tears that need to be shed. I have to pause and slow and meet the exhaustion that is waiting for me there in that still, quiet place. And so I have built in to my daily practice just a few moments before I go into my yoga, before I sit to meditate, to just sit with whatever needs to be met in my being first. And exhaustion and grief are often there. They are pretty constant companions these days. I don't think you and I realize how exhausting culture is right now. We are bombarded with insanity, with death. We are bombarded with choices leaders are making that are baffling. And I don't know about you, but it can feel powerless at times, right? I ride the edge of despair at times. And then there are times when I sit on my mat and the thing that meets me is just so much gratitude that the divine saw fit to have me here on the planet with you in this time of breath in our bodies to share this life. But before I practice meditation, prayer, yoga, the things that I do on a daily basis, first, I slow. I rest in whatever needs to meet me, whatever I need to meet in the quiet and the stillness. And I give it the space and the tears and the laughter that it requires. This is how you begin to deepen your roots, as you meet yourself. And as Howard Thurman, one of the great teachers and spiritual guides of the civil rights movement, encouraged people to just center down. He called it center down, go within and lay it on the altar. Lay whatever you need to lay down on that inner altar and give it to spirit. Let that greater good, let the greater reality unburden you. And I know that right now for me is a daily practice. And I don't know that there's a way through this time, the fall of civilization, the apocalypse, the great turning, whatever you want to call it, without laying our burdens down, without cleansing and releasing and resting, even if it's moments at a time, every day. And then we meditate. Yeah. And then we go into the silence, where we empty ourselves. We empty ourselves of whatever we think we know about how it should be. We empty our minds of the chatter, of the critic, of the learned BS that is ready to be released. We just let ourselves empty and know ourselves as the vessel, the channel, the way. We know ourselves in that stillness, in that emptiness, in that inner quiet that comes after the noise, that comes after the grief, the whatever, the grocery lists, the distractions. You sit long enough for the empty to come, because it is in that place that the divine inspiration can rise, can spark. The solution that you may have to offer your community, your family, your workplace, your city will rise. It is the spaciousness that makes room for the new idea, that makes room for your heart to expand just a bit more, to hold that uncle who's driving you batshit, right? To hold that neighbor who put a political sign in their yard that you can't get with. It is that spaciousness that grows you, that roots you even deeper into your holy. self that is always and ever living on the ground of God, birthed from the womb of God. And your practice and your commitment and your process towards liberation, towards revealing your own wholeness, is exactly what does the rooting. It's exactly what allows you to more deeply root yourself, in yourself, as this divine emanation of the Holy Blessed One. And then voila, you become the expressed, manifest reality of love. And wow, what becomes possible when you and I become that. Let us know in every fiber of our being that everything that is in motion in your life, in life, is moving towards that greater good, that greater becoming. Amen. Ashe. Aho. And so it is.